just left Instagram. So if anybody's wondering and you're just watching this for the first time or you're here live, we just left Instagram because we haven't, at least together, we haven't been on Instagram for almost a year. And as soon as we did that brief show, I know you're over here. As soon as we did that brief show, the next thing I know, my phone is like going off. People were like perturbed because they wanted us to stay on longer. I said, we have to go to our home. And we're here.
No place like home.
It's like, you have been a very busy person. Has uni started again for you? Yeah.
Yes, back at uni,
Yeah.
studying hard, but learning lots.
Okay, now break free from abusive narcissists is the theme of the show and a number of projects that we will be doing in the future. But what I'm concerned about is that we have enough time in our lifetime to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to throw you a curve at a curve at the very beginning of this show. You just mentioned something on Reddit. You highlighted it in the Instagram show that with the IG live we just did.
Yep.
What was that?
Yeah, so I have been doing my own little research, understand
You
better.
sound like a scientist.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way I approach it. It's like, trying to understand something that you don't experience yourself. So, something that you think that you experience, but then when you see it from its real perspective, you're like, wow, okay, I understand how different this is from how I actually work. And so I've been going on Reddit and I've been looking through Hey Over the Refrain. I've been looking through a few Reddit subreddits and reading about narcissism. And so there's a few subreddits where narcissists do go in and post about their own experiences. Now, to preface, I don't ever recommend anyone goes into these subreddits and comments, because this is, these are communities for these people to talk about their own experiences just as much as we have our own communities to talk about our own experiences. So we're not there to, I'm only there to look. I'm not there to say anything to these people. I literally am there to observe.
No commenting then is what you're saying. You don't comment.
I don't comment at all, and I don't contribute to the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I am just there to look at the conversations, and that's what I recommend anyone who wants to understand does too. They're not there to be abused by us in turn as well. They're also there to ask each other questions about their own experience of narcissism. They've been diagnosed. They're like, is this normal? This is what I experience, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been going in there and reading about these people's experiences, and it's just amazing to understand how differently they treat relationships. It's, the way that they can easily just use and throw people away. It's pretty interesting that's just the way they think, that these people are there to be used, and that they can get bored of these people and they can literally not think twice about throwing them away, even though that they know that there's emotion involved and everything. But it's also an interesting way of putting yourself outside of that perspective, of reading someone else's experience of narcissism, although it can sometimes make your blood boil and go, how can these people do this stuff?
That's what I want to talk about. That's what I'm intrigued by, because you touched on it in our IG live we just did before this show. This being our second show, I'm trying to understand the thinking process. What did you learn about, in your perspective, of their mindset when it comes to, technically, as you said, discarding people, throwing people away? What is the mindset behind that? Is it fear?
I think it's more so like a positioning of, like personal positioning. You place yourself in a position so that, like underneath, it's protective. It's a protective mechanism.
Okay.
But also, like I said on the other call, sometimes, not always, but sometimes there are malignant intentions involved to put themselves in a power position. to make other people look bad, to make themselves look better, to place themselves as a victim, to, you know, make themselves look as though they're smarter or bigger or more powerful. Say we're looking at a work situation. A boss might have malignant intentions of putting down their workers because they're making mistakes that they don't want to admit to, for example.
The boss is making, you mean the boss is making mistakes?
Yeah, their boss is making mistakes, but they're like, there's no way I'm going to admit to that. I'm going to put it on these people, and they know that they're doing it.
Wow.
Right? So that's a malignant intention, when you know that you're doing something wrong, but you're doing it to avoid responsibility or confrontation, or, you know, to get caught, in essence.
When it comes to that type of, I don't know, I call it manipulation. Correct me if I got it wrong. To me, it seems like that's manipulation to the point of you're done manipulating that person, so you get rid of them. Well, isn't that similar to what you were going to talk about tonight, the types of manipulation? Yes, no?
Yeah, totally. And the aim of manipulation is for the abuser to put themselves in a certain position, like I said. So, number one, not get caught, not be confronted, to not take responsibility, to keep themselves in a position they're currently in. And like I mentioned, the effect of that, they know a lot of the time, is to make you doubt yourself, to make you question yourself, especially when it's lying, for example. You know, they know they're lying. They know that you're going to question yourself when they're obviously not telling the truth.
So it's not like there's a roadblock that they don't know they're lying. I just love the way you just said that. They know that they're lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes these things are involuntary, right? They might be like, oh, the reaction is like within milliseconds, like, I don't want to get caught, I'm going to put it on someone else, like make an excuse. So that's manipulation in essence, right? Making an excuse, blaming someone else, making a justification is also manipulation. But sometimes when we get called out, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how I've done wrong and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right.
But when an abuser or a narcissist gets confronted in that case, all right, they make an excuse, put blame on someone else, or they make a justification, and then someone calls them out. What they do instead is they go further into the manipulation. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the different kinds of manipulation that they can go into.
So instead of like maybe a majority of people, they go deeper into the manipulation. They go deeper into the lies and the maneuvering, where someone else may say, you know what, they'll acknowledge that they're wrong or the bad behavior or whatever it may be, and then try to correct it and bring about some peaceful resolution. You're saying that from what you are describing, that's not what they want. Even if, okay, let's say you're trying to have a peaceful resolution with me, but I'm just trying to manipulate. I will do it even if it hurts you. I will continue to keep that manipulation so I have the higher ground.
Yeah.
Even if it breaks your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So say it's like lying, for example, and you're doing the manipulation back to me, and I'm going, look, I know, are you lying? I've got evidence right here, for example. You'll just keep going further and further into it and go, well, you know what? How dare you go into my drawer and read my diary or something, or whatever it is.
Get into my phone. I've been texting some other woman.
Yeah. Or how dare you, you know, you talk to someone else about me. What else are they saying about me?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so I say someone
said
told me they saw you out at a restaurant with someone else last night or something. Like, how dare you go and talk to other people about me? It's like, no, hang on, let's talk about the thing that I've just brought up with you. They'll go further and further into discrediting you and devaluing you and making you confused and questioning yourself to the point of you're like, okay, well, I'm doubting myself now, and I think that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that person was wrong, and I'm really not sure who's telling the truth now. So we're really like in a perpetual state of confusion, going, I just don't know who to believe. I don't even know how to trust myself. Like, sometimes we're in that position where we're like, my intuition is screaming at me, don't trust this person, but we can't even trust that.
I know we can trust of the refrain. You made me smile. I tried not to pay too much attention to what's said there and try to focus on you, Sarah, but it was very challenging. And I couldn't take it down until we
Thank
tell
you
you,
so
my
much.
friend, we appreciate your kind words. It means a lot. If others could see the preparation that goes into us putting these shows together, Sarah with the content, and my daughters and I making sure we get these shows out to everybody. We truly appreciate your support, my friend,
Thank
and
you.
what you said on the screen there. Well, look at that, man. You look fabulous today, Sarah.
Thank you.
I just, I just had to throw that in there. This is of the refrain says, you look fabulous today, Sarah. I always feel good when you start chatting it up with Paxton. Actually, she tells me what to say and do. I get an outline. All of my guests tell me how the show's going to go. Chatting it up and Paxton still this show. Keep it up. Fire all day. Love it. So strong. Booyah. Thank you very much, my friend. We have a lot in store for everyone to see in 2023. So hang in there. You're going to see some really amazing stuff from Sarah and Eve Bradley and a number of others that are going to be coming, and many that have been on the show already. We're going to invite them to some new things that we're going to be putting on production-wise, and we hope that you enjoy these subjects that will come to you even in a better format. Can't tell you what that is yet, but you'll see. You'll see. Got to do this here. Thank you of the refrain. He's agreeing with you that you drop in facts right now. That's what he's got there on the screen for us now. My friend, types of manipulation, Sarah, and the effects or their effects. Feel free to go ahead and take the discussion there. I'm not going to kidnap you all day. I know it's daytime and morning there, but go right ahead. Tell us what you can before you have to go.
Yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about, in all of our last sessions, we were talking about the kinds of gaslighting and their manipulation techniques. But today we're going to be talking about the kinds of manipulation which are overt and covert. So there's two ends of the pendulum that an abuser can swing to when it comes to abuse. So let's start with overt manipulation, because this is the most common and the one that we know the best. And this is like outright bullying we're talking about. Like, that someone's a bully.
Did you say bullying? Outright bullying is what you said. Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard it that way. Okay.
Yeah. So outright bullying is overt manipulation. So, when someone comes out and says, I'm going to quote Matilda here. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Okay.
That's bullying, and that's overt manipulation. That person is saying,
I want to hear you say it again. That was really cool.
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it. Poor little Matilda, and I'm sure we can all relate, who have experienced this kind of manipulation, that when someone is literally saying it to your face like that, how can you deny to them, okay, all right, you usually just go, okay, there's nothing I can do about it. Especially when you're a child.
You can't solve it the way you would solve it in the playground, in the sandlot. You can't just headlocks are not
a parent-child situation. You usually
that's reactive
like, okay,
abuse.
Mom, okay, Dad. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
And when there's reactive abuse, right? So the child fights back, right? So say Matilda didn't just stand there, and she fought back in whatever way we know that's possible. She had her magic power, but she fought back by yelling or something, that is then where we're reacting to the abuse. Then they can use that against us. More overt manipulation to say that, look at the way you're reacting. You are this, you are that. So overt manipulation is outright saying things to your face, going, you are this, you are that, discrediting you as a person. But then we're talking about, guilting and shaming you, and externalizing the blame, putting you in a position in front of other people, especially pointing things out in front of others, especially. That's overt manipulation. So if you're in a position where you can't really defend yourself, so perfect example, the mum this was one of my perfect examples. Mum would have friends over. We'd all be playing in the lounge room, and you know, the conversation would get to naughty children. And then my mum's voice would raise above others and go, oh, and my daughter, she can't be handled, and she's so naughty, and she's the worst child of all. You know, things like that. That's overt manipulation, because she knows I can hear it over
Right,
the
right,
wayside, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening, but she knows that I know that other people are also listening. So therefore, I'm being manipulated without even being directly spoken to.
Yeah.
I know that I have to zip my mouth, be quiet, question myself, feel bad, because she's now called me out in front of others as well. You'll probably notice that happens in partner relationships a lot as well.
So do they then, that makes the allies, or what they call it, flying monkeys, now they have other people joining in, because they're going to take it that she's the authority, that you're that kind of child or that kind of mate or whatever it may be, or employee.
Totally.
And like you're saying, you got to zip it at that point, because if you say anything, it looks like, see what I told you? See how disrespectful they are?
Exactly right. And you know, I've seen it with partners as well. I've seen it with people in relationships. They go, oh, you know, he's useless. He never does the dishes or whatever. And if they go, oh, you know, I do the dishes sometimes. Like, oh, you're just saying that because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's overt manipulation. You're doing it in front of people, and you're also trying to discredit and devalue that person. So they start feeling bad and questioning themselves, but they can't defend themselves up. It's manipulative, but it's in your face. It's right there.
You got some on the screen you see there.
Yeah.
Of the refrain. Honestly, has something
in this
for
area for posterity, I think this is the very area we might lose so many in our community. Yes, we search, we learn. This place has global reach. Thank God, for real. Yes, totally. Because you lose that mini community that you have, your mini environment, they have turned against you. So the community is really important in this sense, the online community, because we can validate what you're going through. We can go, you know what, that is manipulation, that is abuse. You shouldn't be dealing with that. And maybe you should, you know, and I'll later on share some means of dealing with that. But there are other ways that you can be overtly manipulated, such as someone passing jokes off. But they're actually really harmful. Like they go, oh, I was just joking, you know. But they weren't joking. They were actually saying it to hurt you, and they know that it's a stab. A lot of the time, you know, people like to say jokes, but they have some sort of meaning to them. So then we've got arrogance, we've got ignorance, we've got blatant intimidation. So say you're in a work environment and the person like they might ridicule you for the way you do something. They might say, why do you do it like that? When you're literally just doing it your own way. And then they go, you shouldn't do it that way. You should do it this way. And you're seriously so silly for doing it that way. Oh, what's wrong with you?
Then they have to put you down because you're doing it your way.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we want you to feel free to be yourself, but you should do it this way.
Yeah. So
overt manipulation.
Yeah. They'll switch when they're overt between the charm. They're like, totally, just exactly like what you said. I totally want you to feel like you can do things the way you want to do them. But then as soon as you go and do them your way, they're like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
That there's something wrong with the way you do things. You should do it this way, that way. And then they'll, you know, again, point you out to maybe other colleagues and look at what this person's doing. I can't believe they're doing it that way. We all do it this way. When some people might agree that, you know, that's the way I do it too, you know. I had a boss even call me out for putting a return address on the back of an envelope instead of on the front. And I was starting to go, you know, like, what, like he started to go, you don't even know how to do an envelope, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'd start to question myself and go, you know, maybe there's something wrong with me. And I'd ask people, where do you put the return address on an envelope? And they go, on the back. And I'm like, yeah, I put it on the back too, but he puts it on the front. So it's wrong. So, you know, over time, these things can start to literally like break you down to the point where, you know, that's okay if they say it once, but if they're doing these things all the time and you're questioning yourself all the time and you're starting to notice you're questioning other people as well. You're going, you know, do you do it this way or do you do it that way? you're probably being manipulated, and overtly they're calling you out in a way that you're like, do we need to? Like, it's a way to have control over you, but it's like, I don't find this necessary. Such as calling you out for doing something that's slightly different to someone else.
So a person is affected by that because now they're not as productive then, because now they're wasting time second, third, fourth guessing themselves.
Oh yeah.
And the people that knew them maybe before, maybe those that didn't know them are going like, what is wrong with this person now?
Exactly.
Maybe they don't even put together that they're being overtly, as it were, manipulated and gaslit.
Yeah, totally. And then they're, in all other areas of their life, they're questioning themselves. They're going, oh, maybe we shouldn't do it that way, and maybe we should do it this way. And then you're going, are you okay? Like, why are you questioning this so much? Like, it seems that you're quite anxious, my partner's called me out and said, it seems that you're quite anxious at the moment. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I keep questioning myself because of this situation. Because you notice that in the back of your head, it's someone else's voice playing on repeat. So basically, overt manipulation is there to posture themselves in a position that is in a power position to put them in control.
The narcissist is trying to do that, to make sure that they're in a power position, as it were.
Yeah. Okay. And that power position is to easily discard you, to easily devalue you, to easily, throw you away, because if you call them out, that basically is demasking who they really are. And they don't want anyone to know who they really are. So they'll deny it outright as well. They'll be like, no, you're wrong. And there's something wrong with you and blah, blah, blah. So that's very overt, very in your face. You can tell, I don't like this and it's not very nice. And you can walk away from that experience going, that person actually spoke to me very harshly. They said harsh things to me. They were rude. They yelled at me. These are all overt types of manipulation. Yelling is an overt kind of manipulation, because usually if someone yells at you, what do? You feel intimidated and you back down. So another overt. It's always in your face when it's overt. So I'm just going to read out this comment here. Of the refrain said, Mum is legit. She saw the flags, had me sit for years next to the learned voice. By the time I was in puberty, binge drinking on weekends, doctor said, take these pills. I love my mum. Yeah. So
that's very sweet, my friend. It's amazing though how others can see the red flags, right?
Totally. Yeah. And sometimes because we're in these environments where we're so used to questioning ourselves, we're so used to being invalidated, we're just like, okay, well, I trust everyone else. And that's actually something I was going to touch on. We have this need, well, not even a need, we just have this ability to trust people without even knowing whether they're trustworthy or not.
Yes.
When we're in these situations. Yeah. So we just like blatantly trust these people, even though there's red flags popping out everywhere, because when we're people pleasers, we're like, okay, I need to get validation from this person. So I'm just going to trust them because I need to be trusted too. I need to show that I'm a trustworthy person, or, I need to show that I'm a good person. So I'm going to do everything that makes me seem, kind. It makes me seem approachable. It makes me seem easygoing. And what does that mean to a manipulator, to an abuser? They're like, well, approachable, easy, vulnerable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
I can easily put this person in their place and I can take control.
Yeah.
So on to covert manipulation.
May I ask you a question before you do that? Actually, I'm going to ask two questions. One, I'm going to slow walk, and that's for of the refrain. I'm going to slowly ask you this question of the refrain. I'm going to put this back up on the screen. You mentioned that your mom is legit. She saw the red flags. What were some of the red flags that you experienced that were part of the manipulation? Feel free to share that in the chat with us if you feel comfortable enough to do that, my friend. What were some of the red flags that could be a warning to others that may see this later or that may see this in another part of the world? Just food for thought. I just wanted to ask you that if you feel comfortable and safe to do so. Sarah, I was going to ask in regards to the overt part before you do the covert.
Mhm.
The overt, does that work on everybody, or are some people more stronger to fight back on it, or the individual who does the overt, are they really looking for somebody extremely per se with no or weak boundaries?
So I think with overt and covert, it can be interchangeable,
Mm-hmm.
but usually if we're talking about a narcissist, they'll swing one or the other ways. Like
Mm-hmm.
they might be less covert and
Mm-hmm.
just usually just, unable to
Bam.
control their emotions.
Here.
Bam,
Yeah.
bam, 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 bam.
Okay.
So actually kind of easier to maneuver because you're like, I'm gonna, swing wide around this person. Like I'm
Yeah.
not really even gonna, go near them because I know that they're gonna react in this way. They're explosive for
Right. Right.
example. And you can,
Predictable. Their behavior is so predictable and stands out so much. It's like I know exactly where they're coming from. I can avoid that.
mhm,
Got it.
totally. Yeah. Yeah. You can even like when it comes to the manipulation of like, guilt, shame, externalizing blame and just justifying and denial, like the gaslighting when it comes up with an overt kind of person, they will be like, well, it was your fault, you did that. And they'll try, if you're pretty strong in terms of your boundaries, you'll be like, this is a very weak attempt at trying to make me the blame here, You're trying
Mhm.
to make me the blame when we clearly know that you're the blame. So a lot of the time, overt narcissists will probably have less people around them because
Okay.
they tend to be a bit more isolated because they're that
Duly
kind of person.
duly noted. They have
Yeah.
very little true friends or friends at all.
Yeah. Yeah. But when it
Yeah.
comes to covert, if we're going to make the comparison, they might have more people around them, but they're usually flying monkeys that are being manipulated due to the covert means of manipulation. So overt people have usually got people that have thrown them out, like the typical overt narcissist will have children that don't speak to them and, will be living alone and, may have employees that have walked out on them several times over in their lives, et cetera, et cetera,
Okay, everybody who's listening to this, please stay on guard.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah. If you
that
find
sounds like
someone
huge
saying
red flags right there. And it's not
totally,
like, you know, every blue moon these things are happening to them. You're talking as if this is their life pattern
oh
in
yeah,
which people just can't stand to be around them over a period of time once
yeah,
they get used
yeah,
to being get in their presence.
yeah. And they might even say it to your face. They might be like,
Really?
oh yeah, I had the boss that I had in the past that was ridiculing me about the envelopes, said something like, oh, no one can stand to be around me for too long. And my
Wow.
son doesn't talk to me, for example, and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was kind of like, oh, I wonder why. And I noticed the charm gets switched on. And as soon as it's, they can't handle their emotions, it gets switched off. And there's the
Wow.
overt throwing of their emotions
Yeah.
because they can't control it, or they'll deny and they'll say, no, that was your fault and it was all you. And you'll be like, can you
Yeah.
not speak to me like that? And they'll be
Mhm.
like, well, it's your fault I was speaking to you like that. And you're like, oh.
So
So
so they're
walk
punching
away.
walls. They're doing all kind of stuff.
They're punching walls, they're
They're
doing things, they're
doing,
throwing things, breaking things, they're
and
doing
it's
all that stuff.
somebody else's fault.
Someone else's fault. Yeah. It was
Making a
your fault.
scene
I
in
dropped it.
public,
It was your
whatever it
fault.
may be.
Yeah. It was your fault I yelled at you. It was your fault that we were running late, blah, blah, blah. It's always someone
Run,
else's fault.
run,
Run
immediately
away.
run, run
Yeah.
away.
Especially if you're in a work situation and you're not
Yeah.
obligated to be there, walk away right now. Yeah.
Wow. That's just great. Okay, I know you're going to get to the covert, but I knew we had a little bit more
Yeah.
time here. I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you
Yeah.
that
Totally. That's
question.
good.
Covert. Now, you just told us that, so we're looking for somebody the opposite of that. They're a little bit more sneaky then?
Mhm.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky?
These people are scary.
Okay. Oh, wait. What you just described was pretty bad. I couldn't imagine living with
It is.
somebody that was acting like that all the
Yeah.
time, but that
But
would like,
maybe it's kind of easy because you're like, you know what? I'm
well,
not
it's
dealing with
right
this. I'm
there.
walking
It's
out.
right out in
Yeah.
front of you.
Exactly. You're like, I'm done, bye.
It's like, come on
But
here.
when it comes to covert, I'm actually terrified, right?
Okay.
It is terrifying. You're going to be walking on eggshells. You're going to be like, I don't know when they're going to be okay. And when it comes to covert manipulation, we're talking they give you a glance and you're like, I'm dead. They'll give you a stare and you're like, I'm in trouble.
Okay, that would be really horrible if you were a child and you grew up with a parent like that,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
two, God forbid.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And a narcissistic parent can use both covert and overt means. You know, a narcissist can use both covert and overt means, but they will swing one way or another. And so my mother was more covert. So it was more like the facial expressions and the muttering under the breath of like, if you don't do what I say right now, I'm going to tell everyone you're blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, there'll be a lot of threats, a lot of veiled threats, a lot of subtly veiled threats to make you do what they want you to do. There'll be a lot of passive aggressiveness. There'll be a lot of silent treatment. There'll be a lot of finding out gossip from other people that you hadn't heard of directly from them. So, you know, compared to an overt narcissist, they'll say it to your face, but a covert narcissist will go tell other people. And then you'll hear it from someone else and you'll be like, oh, like, you know, you'll start to question yourself in that way. There's a lot of nonverbal, ignoring, silent treatment kind of stuff. So say, for example, you are in a situation where you're the child and the parent and you're like, you feel like you're in trouble and you go and ask them, can I go and can I leave the table? You know, can I finished eating? Can I leave the table? And they ignore you completely. That's covert manipulation. It's to make you feel more afraid, to make you feel more intimidated. But they're not saying it to your face. They're not doing it. They're not yelling at you or hitting you. But it still feels just as bad. It still feels just as scary because you're like, where do I stand? What do? I don't know because they're not even reacting to me. They might give you, the glance or the stare. You know, any child of a narcissist will know what that stare is like. They will go, I know that stare. It's like they look through you in a way, because they are literally trying to control you with their look.
All I can think of is run right now. I literally,
totally.
that's all that's going through my little peanut head is run. That's all I can. Yeah. That is scary. Look at
run. This,
go ahead.
Like the refrain is saying here, are you kidding me? Horror show, the real horror movie type stuff. Like we're talking the movie Gaslight. We're talking the movie Run. Like the stuff where you're having a bad dream and you're trying to scream out to people like, help me, help me, help me. And behind the mask is someone like terrifying, like, and no one is able to help you. That's what it's like with covert narcissism. Because imagine you're in a situation where you're in an abusive relationship with a partner and they're doing things like this. So like talking about the movie Gaslight, there's a perfect scene in the movie Gaslight where they're at a show. It's like a piano show or something like that. The man's playing music. And I think beforehand, he couldn't find his pocket watch or something like that. And he had accused his wife of taking it.
Yeah. Right.
And so he had put it in her bag. Yeah. And so in the show, they're surrounded by people. He says, look in your bag to see if it's there. And she looks in her bag and she sees that it's there and she loses control of her emotions. She starts crying. She starts blubbering and goes, oh, goodness me, she cannot control her emotions. So what does he do? He lifts her up. She's yelling and crying. He lifts her up and he looks around and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And he's apologizing. He's saying, oh, she's not well. And people are like, oh, can I help you? Yeah. And so he's acting like his wife is mentally ill. How terrifying is that to be in that position where you know you're not mentally ill?
He created the entire thing to make it look like she was crazy. That is disgustingly devious. That is
terrifying.
That
terrifying
is bad.
To be in that position where you can't go, hang on, he put that in my bag.
Exactly. Right.
Then he can go, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. You're just mentally ill. Yeah. So that's why covert manipulation is actually more terrifying in my point of view, because they can do it behind everyone's back and make you end up believing that you are crazy. Yeah. And you will start believing that you're crazy
Mm.
and the way that you think is crazy. So constantly needing them to make decisions for you. You lose the ability to make your own decisions because you're like, well, I'm not able to do that. I'm not mentally well. I'm not able to make decisions because every decision I make is wrong. Look at what I do and I can't even remember what I've done.
And if it
Because
wasn't for this
you,
person being here to help me out, but in actuality, they're the ones laying the groundwork so that everything you do gets demolished or looks like it was your fault,
oh yes.
or that
So that's
you're not able to function.
exactly right. And that's why in these situations when you might think that you're experiencing any kind of manipulation is to surround yourself with more people because then you can relate your experience with these other people to the experience you're having with this one person and go, is it comparable? Because every time I'm around this person, I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like I'm questioning myself. I feel confused. I feel like I am making the wrong decisions. I feel like,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. But around everyone else, I feel like everything's normal. So
It's like two
we have
different.
to
So you got like two different
question.
worlds, is what you're describing, that the
Yeah.
victim can be in, but yet they call one home, so they don't want to judge it as being he's trying to or she trying to do it on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're like, this
That's
person could
confusing.
possibly be doing this to me. This person
Yeah.
says that they love me. This person says that they care for me. But what is the malignant intention? It's to have power and control over you. And they really don't have any thought or feeling or empathy about how much this is mentally torturing you. This is mentally torturing you to the point of almost, wanting to die
Yeah.
sometimes. Sometimes
We
people do feel like that
no,
because
they
it's
want to take
so
their life
yeah,
because it's so intense.
you're like I'm going insane
Yeah.
and I can't even trust what's in front of me. I can't trust my own reality. So I might as well not be alive. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very dangerous to continuously stay around these people.
Yeah, very, very dangerous. And if you feel at any point that you're hitting an emotional wall, reach out to the many numbers, the national numbers that are available to you. Uh, Talk to your neighbor, talk to someone that may be able to see more than you can see because of the overt or covert tactics of manipulation. We've got some words many are putting up. I see Adam has joined us and others. Please let me get to of the refrain here. He says taboo or big with that segment. They stalk. I know that much. He mentions that I guess the coverts is what you're talking about, right? The
Oh
coverts.
yeah. Oh yeah. And they'll stalk you through other people as well. They have their
Time
flying
out.
monkey.
Nope. Time out. That's scary. Time out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, I get what my buddy's saying. They stalk, but you're telling me that they will stalk you through other people.
Oh yeah. If they don't have access to you,
Do the other people know they're being used for that, or are they part of this whole stalking thing?
they're part of the network. Like of the refrain is just said down here, network societies all day, every day for real, because that's what it is to them. It's a little network of people that are under their
Wow.
wing, and like they're called flying monkeys. Like the Wicked Witch, was it of the West? I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah.
She has her flying. She doesn't have to leave her tower. She sends her flying monkeys out, and they come back and bring information. And the victim has no idea that, unless they're very well trained, they're like, okay, I know that person's connected to that person, so I'm not
Right.
going to give
Right.
them
Right. Right.
information.
Not gonna. Right.
Unless you don't know, unless you know that person's connected, you'll start talking about your life. You'll start saying things. You might even share things about yourself that are trauma related. And then it gets sent back to the abuser who can then use it against you. I've got to be really careful who we share certain things with, especially if we don't know them very well.
That was the other thing I was going to mention. Well, maybe it's family members. I'm just thinking about some other shows that we've done and what others have said. It could be somebody within the family that you think maybe they're with you on Instagram or somewhere else. And the next thing you know, something you've said has then traveled somewhere you didn't want it to go. And it's with that covert or overt. Adam has something here for you. He says,
Yes.
hi, are most domestic abusers narcissists?
It's hard to tell. Basically, what we can say is a domestic abuser would show narcissistic traits in most cases because they show a lack of empathy. They don't have a willingness to take responsibility for what they're doing, and they use those manipulation tactics. But without being diagnosed, we can't say that they are a narcissist, but we can say that we can observe narcissistic traits within them. So if we're observing narcissistic traits, then we have to just be careful of those and use the same methods to get out of the situation. Doesn't matter if we're dealing with a domestic abuser or a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath, whoever it may be, we can use the same methods to get ourselves out of that situation and put ourselves in the line of safety.
Yeah. We've got a thought here from Of the Refrain. OTR says, I am not a doctor. In my case, I don't care if where, and essentially they are on the spectrum, domestic violence kills people, is what he says.
Even if they don't outright kill you, right? Because in Australia, domestic violence is actually one of the biggest killers here, but it might not outright kill you. It might drive you to the point of wanting to do something harmful to yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's so, so, so important if you feel this way to reach out for help, even if it's calling a suicide hotline, even if it's calling White Ribbon, for example. These people are there just to talk you through what you're experiencing. And you can ask them, is what I'm experiencing normal? Because they can tell you if what you're experiencing is normal or if it's abuse. And then they'll give you some actual resources to help you to get out of that situation. So it's really important to always reach out for help in the most safe manner that you can.
When it comes to a personality disorder, that may be something someone is dealing with. Adam puts here, are domestic abusers either narcissists or personality disordered? I know you were touching on that just a moment, but overall, if it is an unsafe emotional situation, circumstances, whatever it may be, it's something that a decision has to be made.
Because you think you can, you put yourself in that position, you go, I think I can deal with it. I think I can keep going with it. I think I can just, in order to keep what I have right now, for example, if it's a house, a marriage, children with both parents, it's a job, it's whatever, a friendship group, whatever it may be. Sometimes you think that it's worth putting up with that behavior to keep what you currently have right now. But you'll notice that over time, you start getting worse and worse and worse. And so I will touch on the things that come from being manipulated over time, if that's the right moment for that. Over time, you can develop things like complex PTSD, anxiety, depression, and we've already touched on the suicidal thoughts. But the minor things that you'll experience before those, right? These are the massive effects that you're going to experience over time. The minor things that you're going to notice straight up are being confused, questioning yourself. You'll stop being able to make your own decisions around this person, and you'll start questioning every decision you make. You'll have a lot of anxiety, and you'll be hypervigilant in every relationship that you have. You'll start to become passive in all of your relationships. You'll have a lot of shame and guilt, especially around little humiliations. You might be embarrassed by a small mistake you made, but you'll have huge shame and guilt about it because you have no way of regulating your own emotions because you've been broken down. You'll be walking on eggshells around this person and other people as well. So you start to engage in people-pleasing behavior because of that. And you'll start to lose relationships, right? Because these people around you are either they're noticing that you're being isolated by this person. So the abuser's purposely isolating you. Or your relationships start to break down because you're not able to trust these people. You're
not able to trust the abuser is what you're saying.
And other relationships.
In other relationships.
You might not be able to trust your partner anymore because your parent has narcissistically abused you. your entire life. So you have an
Mm.
abandonment wound inside, feeling like because you've been abandoned your entire life that your
Mhm.
partner's now going to leave you, even though they're not. This is what happens to you over time. You start to have this sense that no one is trustworthy. You start to stop engaging in future relationships as well because you think that it's going to break down because you can't trust anyone as well. And you start to need constant validation. So the constant validation, if it doesn't come from the people around you, you have more anxiety. You start to question yourself even more.
Mm.
So you're not turning narcissistic in this sense. This is the people pleaser behavior that comes out. You need constant validation by engaging in acts that are people pleasing, that try to help others.
Right.
But you think that everything that you do isn't good enough. So you further try to people please
Mm.
and you get yourself to the point of exhaustion.
Mm.
You burn out really fast. And you start to feel like when I said it, what I said about losing relationships, you start to break down other relationships as well because you feel resentful to these people. You might feel like they've done something very small to you, like made a mistake, but because of your constant fear of abandonment and your people pleasing behavior and your need to be perfect, right? You'll hold other people to this high standard of perfection as well. So it starts to break down your relationships because you don't understand that other people can make mistakes. And that's a big thing that we learn as we come out of complex PTSD, that everyone can make mistakes. We can forgive other people for making mistakes. We can move forward in relationships when there are mistakes. But we have to have the give and take, right? We have to have the other person showing that they're willing to grow and change as well. And if they're not, we have to move away because it's not helping us. Another effect would be self-sabotage and judgment, self-judgment, constantly judging yourself. And I mentioned being exhausted because you're constantly anxious and fearful. Imagine
So
going to work.
constantly anxious and fearful,
Yeah,
critical judge of oneself and others,
yeah,
leads to total exhaustion.
totally. Yeah. And you also
Wow.
violate your own boundaries, right? So you might not know what your boundaries are at first, but if you do have boundaries already,
Mhm.
you start to violate them
For,
because
for
you're like,
for example, for somebody to hear this, go ahead.
yeah. So you might have a value inside that you don't want people to talk to you badly, right?
Okay.
So that's a boundary. I'm not going to
Hmm.
let people
Hmm.
talk badly to me. But because of this constant manipulation and breaking down and abuse, you want that validation from people. So when someone talks badly to you, you accept that.
And
So
instead of
instead of
holding
putting up
your
a
value
boundary,
in your, as it were, boundary, holding your value and keeping it safe, you let it go and let
yeah,
somebody walk all over it.
exactly. And you don't call them out for it. For example, you
Mm.
go, oh, I'm
Yeah.
too scared of how this person's going to react if I stand up for myself because I know that maybe I'll lose them because we're so afraid of losing people when we're in that
Oh,
people
if
please.
I say no to that person, or if I say, "Hey, hold on a second now," that's not the way I need somebody to talk to me.
Yeah.
Afraid to even say that because
Mhm.
that person may never talk to me again.
Exactly. But
Wow.
in reality, if we actually did stand up for ourselves, a lot of the
Mm.
time those people would be like, hey, sorry, I didn't mean that. Sorry.
Uh,
If then most of the time they're not abusers. And we need to actually do those things to teach people our boundaries. But when we've been a people pleaser for so long, our boundaries have been broken down, our values have been broken down, our sense of self has been broken down. It doesn't matter who it is,
mhm.
we will still let them walk all over our boundaries because we're not sure who we can
Mm.
trust. We're not sure whether they're going to be okay with our boundaries or not. So we're constantly violating our own sense of self, our own boundaries. And
Well,
therefore, we end up isolated. We end up separated from everyone and we stay with the abuser.
we stay with the abuser, or we end up just isolating ourselves and be by ourselves. Period. Because
Exactly.
we won't even speak up for our own voice. We won't
Yeah.
even use our voice to have a voice anymore
Mhm.
because of the constant covert or overt pattern of abuse. We
Yeah.
need to get to what Adam has on screen there. I'm tossing it your way.
Yeah.
Is narcissism caused by trauma.
That's a really
We've got
good
a whole lot more to bring up on the screen too, but go right ahead, and I would just keep moving on.
Yep. So it's a great question because it helps us to understand it a lot better. So if you want to understand people pleasing and narcissism, they both come from trauma, and they come from the same kind of trauma. That's neglect, invalidation, and abuse, right? So someone who has been in an abusive situation growing up, or in whatever situation they may be in, we will react by protecting ourselves in one of two ways. We'll become really, really headstrong, protect ourselves from any other outside source of manipulation or anything, by becoming narcissistic and only understanding our own feelings and protecting our own feelings with vigor, right? Vigor to the point that we don't give a crap about anyone else. That's how we can form narcissism, because we're like, I'm not going to let anyone else do that to me, and I'm holding on to this, and I'm going to look after myself, and I know that that's how the world is run. So narcissists kind of believe that the world is run in a way that is just manipulative, right? That everyone is just protecting themselves, and everyone is just looking out for their own. So they just work that way because of the trauma in the past. The other way that we can swing is because we haven't had our needs met, is we don't become that person where like, I'm so headstrong that I'm going to look after my own needs. We're going to notice that in the environment around us, we're not getting our cues met or read. So we're going to go and exert ourselves to be noticed and validated instead. So we're going to go out there and do the people pleasing stuff to get the notice, the validation. So in both ways, right? Both ways, the external validation. People pleasing, we're getting external validation by being not quite ourselves. We're just doing things to be nice and make people like us.
Right.
But narcissism also is external validation from using manipulation and controlling means. Both come from trauma, and narcissism is really, really hard to kick because the person can't realize a lot of the time that they have a problem with empathy. But people pleasing is easier, even though it's quite hard. It's easier because we have the ability to self-reflect a lot more.
Okay. All right. And there is a measure, if not a stronger measure of empathy also. Does that help?
Yes.
Them try to kick that?
Empathy, yeah.
They have to work through that. I don't know everybody. I'm not the expert. Or as of the refrain says, OTR says, I'm not a doctor. Speaking of, OTR says, I love you too. Oh, man, you the bomb.
Thank you.
You guys are great. Supergirl and Superman. Oh, man, I need my little Superman here now. Thank you very much. I'm going to get me a big S on my chest. I don't know what you going to get.
Well, I am S as well, so
we both got to come in red and blue. Okay, thank you, my friends, so much for saying that. We really appreciate it. Big shout to the little woman behind the curtain too.
Yeah, your daughters.
Yeah, very, very important. Of the refrain, OTR says, "Is it really? It is a really beautiful day. For a few minutes, I get to hang out with people I adore. Beautiful, like I said."
Thank you.
I'm telling you right now, just send me the address. Sarah and I will make sure. You know what? I'm gonna name a child after you. Of the refrain, I'm gonna call it Of the Refrain. OTR. That's gonna be the kid's name. I don't know when I'm gonna have this kid, but I'm gonna have sometime in the future. We got Adam here. Love you, Of the Refrain. OTR is in the house. You know what? You know what we should do? I think I'm just gonna make an OTR shirt and wear it. I'm just gonna wear it. Yeah. Hashtag OTR. And a lot of people are not gonna know what it is, but he will know what it is. And when we wear it on the show, people will know. OTR owns Narcabuse TV. So him and Dr. Marty Hill. What do we? Oh, I'm sorry, I passed that up there. Narcissists can cause abandonment issues and BPD in their victims. Let's see what else he's got here. BPD is similar to c-ptsd. I guess that's a question for you. I'm not sure.
I'm not very, I'm not an expert on BPD. They have similarities. They definitely do. Yeah. And complex PTSD can show up in, even if you don't have a personality disorder or any kind of mental health issue as well.
I think OTR is looking forward to us wearing shirts one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we made you laugh with that. But he has this for you. Feel free
More
to read
research.
that one.
More research as the institutional arena is needed desperately. The DSM-5 has ethical issues before it. Recent changes seem more limiting to criteria for diagnosis. Yeah. I feel like the DSM-5, I know that a lot of the stuff that is said, like it is diagnostic criteria in the DSM-5. It can be limiting sometimes to people, but it also can help us to label, if someone is actually narcissistic or if they're just showing narcissistic traits. Because there's a certain period of time that in the DSM-5 that someone needs to be showing certain criteria for a diagnosis. So, but that's all I can comment on that at the moment.
No. You have another one here. Feel free to take a look at that one from OTR.
As a society, we must learn more. Yeah, definitely. Of course, I say that now as a parent. I'm a little older these days. I see some things differently in some areas. Yeah. When we start to have children as well, and I haven't even got a child, but I have a niece and nephew. When you start to be around young children and you realize how much the world around them affects children,
Yeah.
it's almost like you can't not hold your parents and the people around you responsible, because they knew the way that these things were affecting you. They saw that you were picking up on certain behaviors because they were behaving certain ways. So it was partly their responsibility as much as it's our responsibility now. Although there is more education out now, if there's more education, then these parents should also be educating themselves and taking responsibility now, even now.
Or at least having the conversations with the child to find out what the child is experiencing, or making it so that they are approachable, so the child feels comfortable to discuss. The conversations were happening way before there was a a psychologist, a therapist, and all the above. People were actually talking things out.
Exactly.
It seems that human society has indeed went away that they can't even direct their own step. I gotta throw something out to you here. OTR is typing faster than I can get to. He's got another one here. I hope I didn't miss that last one. I'm sorry. I'll read. Each of our stories is a link, a tiny bit of hope at each link. It says I could. He could not care. In other words, right? He couldn't care about the DSM, is what he's saying.
Yeah. He couldn't care about the
right?
damn.
If I said that right.
Yeah. And to heck with the DSM-5 for those heading out of it and into recovery. Awareness. I wear it on my sleeve. Yeah. A lot of the time, like I've actually learning about this in a subject I'm doing right now called illness and healing. We're talking about medicalization and how a lot of human experiences have now been drowned out by medicalization. So we can compare that to the DSM-5 where these, there's diagnostic criteria. It's all on a list, and we can say yes, 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 and we can tick them off.
You kind of just go down the list, whatever the label fits. Tick,
exactly.
Okay. But the actual human experience, which cannot be fully measured and cookie cut for everybody, is lost.
From an anthropological point of view, which means looking at it from a human experience basis, it's so much more complex than that. The effects of it's slightly different for everyone, and that's why it's so important not just to look at this diagnostic criteria, but also to look at other people's experiences, make comparisons, talk to other people in these communities, and go, ask those questions. Is this normal, what I'm experiencing? Is this abuse? Because if you're asking those questions and then you're getting 10 different answers and some of them are similar, you're going to start to notice that, okay, there's similar ideas about what this is, and then you'll have slightly different views, which are also adding to your point of view and your understanding of what this is as well. So It's really good to get many different perspectives rather than narrowing our view down to one perspective, because that limits us. And that's what medicalization sometimes does around the mental health sphere, for example. There's stigma around it. And people sometimes don't want to talk about mental health because they think that people are going to judge them, or they're going to be locked away, or people are going to judge them for being locked away, for example, you know.
Oh yes, that's true
Yeah,
too. They're going to
yeah,
get judged if they are literally locked away because of
exactly.
their mental health.
Yeah,
The stigma will be strong either way because people need to feel that they are better than others anyhow in many cases. So
yeah, yeah. But
they will
we're
try to
all
capitalize.
human, and
Go
we all
ahead.
have very similar experiences. So, and the more we share those experiences with others, we realize that we're all very, very similar.
Yeah. I am looking for the opportunity to put this up on the screen, and I think it's now. Here we go. Please allow us all to say that we enjoy being with you, Sarah. You're absolutely very encouraging, and I love doing shows with you. Very encouraging. But it is time now for me to ask you for something, and it's this. I just have these little toys over here. Don't mind me. What can you give us in the way of breaking free from abusive narcissists as a motivational tip today? What motivational tip can you give us before we have to go?
Yeah, so I have a few things written down here today. So, how to get out of this, cycle of manipulation and abuse, and I'm just going to highlight the importance of getting the support and how to get that help here. So number one, we have to learn to stop people pleasing if we are in the cycle of people pleasing all the time. And there's plenty of resources out there, but you know, myself as a coach, I'm here to help you do that. And like I mentioned in one of our previous calls, you know, it takes time to start focusing back on yourself, educating yourself on this stuff. Once you know this stuff, you become pretty powerful and you're able to identify what is happening in front of you. So, staying mindful in these situations, keeping your eyes open, even around the people you think you can trust. So, we were mentioning before, like even around family members, they could have flying monkeys coming around, right? Or say you start a new job and you've got a friend who you're really friendly with, and you think everything's great. And then something happens every time you hang out with them, like gossip starts getting spread around or something, and you're not sure why it keeps happening, but you're not sure who it is. So just be wary of who you're telling things to and what you're telling to these people, and then stay wary of like who is spreading the information and who is using it to manipulate you, because it might not be who you think it is. You might, you know, a narcissist and an abuser can easily point out other people around you as being the problem when they could indeed be the problem themselves.
Hmm.
So use your own intuition to figure out who the real problem is when it comes to these problem situations. Don't trust who people are saying are the problems. Look after yourself and don't underestimate self-care. And I like to say major self-care, but what we really mean is doing major minor self-care, if that makes sense. So I want you to do it all the time, but do it in little bursts. So do little things for yourself that are going to keep you going. Don't get yourself to the point of exhaustion. Give yourself that little extra bit of rest. Stop and eat. Stop and you know, do your morning routines and things like that. Stop and write down your goals. Make sure that you're actually looking after yourself in these ways, because these are ways to help you to get out of that mentality of someone else controlling you. Hold your boundaries strong, especially with people who don't like them. And if all else fails, the best decision in the end is to move away and distance yourself from people who are manipulating you, who you think that might be manipulating you. And even though sometimes these people are completely enmeshed in your life, right? Say, for example, it's your parent who's the narcissist, and you work with your parent and you live with your parent, and all of your friends from work are friends with your parent too. So you've got this whole enmeshed environment with this person. you're going to have to slowly start to make distance and be wary of the new connections you make until you have this sense of your own self-identity and your own life. And I know that it's hard, that you feel like you've built a life around this person. I know that it's hard that you feel like you've built a life around this whole situation and identity that you've created with this person in your life. And you feel like if you break away from them, you're going to lose a part of yourself in a way. But what you do end up gaining is a lot more of who you really are, a lot of strength, dealing with the adversity that comes with going away from that person as well. But know that there's help. So get help. Reach out to a coach like myself or a therapist. Reach out to communities online and talk to other people about what is happening, because the isolation is what's going to get you in the end. If you're not listening to the red flags, if you're not listening to your intuition, if you're not going with what feels right, if you're not making your own decisions, what gets you in the end is the isolation, because you feel like you have no one there and you're stuck in this mentality that you cannot change. So get help, get support, surround yourself with people. And if you can't surround yourself with people right now, come to me, because that's part of the coaching process that I do, which is later on down the line, we look at your environment and we start to shift that to be in alignment with the life that you want, because environment is a huge, huge player in the life that you have right now. So I think that's all I can give you right now. I think that was a lot.
I think that was superb. Absolutely superb. Low budget show, high caliber guest. Didn't I tell you? She's right there. Look, she's right over there. Watch that. Look at that.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
All right. We started over on Instagram, then we came here, but we have got to put this up from Of the Refrain. OTR is in the house.
We're all in the trenches together. Yeah. Excuse me. Tip of the spear.
We both sitting here we're trying to work this time for tea.
And indeed, we are safe. This is such a safe space, coming into these places, talking about this stuff. We're not judging at all. We've, a lot of us have been through it, and coming out the other end, sometimes we might smirk and smile at these things that people write. We're only smirking and smiling because we know exactly how you feel. We're like, oh yeah, we have those feels, we're all in this together.
I have listened to so many people over the past 2 years. Some of the things that people have told me, it's almost as if I've experienced them myself. I've heard it so much. Then when I hear, I hear you say things, I heard Eve Bradley say things, and Dr. Darlene Lancer and Dr. Robin Bryman and others that have been on the show. And then when I hear everyone talk about it, it's like, I get tired. I get tired of, and it's like, it's not even happening to me. It's like, but I feel it so much, which is why my daughters and I are so passionate about putting these shows on and then making them better, as you will find out over time. As I say, wait till you see what's happening in 2023. But right now, you're bringing attention to what OTR has said. We try to make sure that these shows and conversations are a safe place. They may not be the most visually stunning on the left side of the screen that I'm on, but I have beautiful guests from inside out who truly want to share some source of encouragement with everyone. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do. And thank you for the bravo, OTR. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. And then he's laughing, laugh out loud. But I like this. I think I might just have to get my daughter to make me a shirt that says this, 2023 with 3 exclamation marks. Because that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, we got some stuff that if you don't see me come on for a while, it's not because I'm goofing off. There are things happening behind the scenes for what we have in store for you in 2023. I don't know where that came from. It's like a really bad attempt on a trailer. By the way, we do have some mini movies coming up. There is one coming for Dr. Marnie Hill. I've been feverishly working on that for a few months, that we're putting her different appearances and other stuff together. Sarah's going to get one. Eve's going to get just about everybody that's been on the show. Kim Saeed. We're putting everybody's stuff together to make little mini movies, and they will have trailers.
Cool.
And I don't know whether I'll do the voiceover or we may get some special actor to do it. Okay, maybe not. Anyhow, so just don't mind me, you guys. I'm having too much fun. What did that say again? I'm sorry, put it up. That's right. Nothing but a stellar lineup of friends. Oh man, I like that. I like that. I like that saying. Nothing but a stellar lineup of friends. You're absolutely correct. I appreciate you saying that, my friend, because the people that you see here give of their time and energy, but more importantly, they really want to help others. If you need to reach out, you're watching this. We are in Africa, Indonesia, so many places around the world have been watching our shows. If you need some assistance or someone to talk to, feel free, feel safe to reach out to them, and they will help you. Sarah, I think I took most of your morning.
It's okay.
What do we got now? Is it 12 o'clock over there yet? I don't know. Where are we here?
As this is the end of this conversation, I might just plug my offer. I do have one-on-one coaching for anyone who's been watching and is interested. I don't actually offer group coaching or small programs because this is intense work, and I feel like I don't like spreading myself too thin with groups and not being able to give the person the right experience that's tailored to them. So I only offer one-on-one coaching, and it's always open. So please reach out to me. I always offer a free one-on-one call. What we do on that call is we map out where you are in your life right now. We look at the biggest challenge that you're currently experiencing, how we can find a solution to that challenge, and a goal plan to go forward. Now that's, no obligation to sign up, but that's my only intention, to get you on the track to moving forward. But then from there on, there's an entire process that we move through that helps people to get to where they want to be. And I have a bunch of amazing testimonials up on my website. So please jump over to my bio link on Instagram and read those. Thanks.
That was beautiful. Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
I could not have said it any better. My wedge. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Have you ever seen the movie Princess Bride?
No, that's actually one I've never seen. My friend told me I should watch it.
Have you seen the movie The Princess Bride? Have you seen the movie? Go check it out. Maybe this will be the weekend that you'll watch that. And if you watch that movie, okay, let me know you saw that movie at some point. I don't know, on Instagram or whatever. Find some way to send me something, send an email, whatever you like to do. And tell me if that made your weekend with laughter.
Ooh,
with laughter.
okay.
You will enjoy yourself. Make sure you have a lot of popcorn, some chocolate, or whatever you think you need,
All right. I'm excited.
Whatever you think you need. But you're going to laugh, and you eventually will cry, because it's really funny and romantic and a whole bunch of other stuff. One of the best movies for guys to watch with anyone, including his kids. I know, because we're probably going to watch that in a little bit. Anyhow, so great movie. Oh, wait, you got something here before we go. Of the refrain, of course, keeping it real with some laugh out louds, and solid gold. I just know it. Oh, it's going to be good, man. I'm telling you, what we've been working on, ooh, it's going to be, you're going to love it. Yeah. Often imitated, but never duplicated. Narc Abuse TV Network. I'm sorry, I had to say that. That was kind of cheesy, corny. Cheesy, corny. That was so crazy. Oh, wait, he saw the movie. Movie's a bomb. Oh, man. He's haloing it now. All right.
Thanks
I want
for
you to stay
joining
on
us,
Earth
everyone.
now. Stay down here with us. All right. So, all right. So I don't know where that came from. Okay. Now I have stalled enough because I was doing something and letting something load, and now it just loaded. So hopefully everything will go well. 59 seconds of your life is what I'm going to ask you to take time and watch this video as we conclude the show. So here we go. This is my rundown before we leave. You have been watching Narc Abuse TV Network live, NATV Live. We thank you so much for being here and for buckling up and enjoying the ride with Sarah De Silva, the one-of-a-kind lady herself, SDS. I don't know what that means. I just want to say that. Gaslighting 101. There has been 6 episodes. This is episode number 6. Episode number 6. Episode number 6. I get to goof off because it's free TV. And we thank you for watching. Wait, we got another comment here. I got to throw it in here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, bye, YouTube. Stay out of trouble. Wait, you can't leave yet. I did this whole rundown. I'm making it up as I go. I don't even have a script. So just hang in there. This is like really bad voiceover stuff happening. Okay, so thanks for watching this live stream. OTR says, bye, YouTube. Stay out of trouble. Somebody right now is trying to go like, why is he still talking in the show? Thank you for the motivational tips that you gave right here on NATV. Did you like that? I'm making all this stuff up as I go, just so I can lead up to say this. We're out of here, people. So we'll see you guys later. Dude, wait. Oh, no, we can't leave yet.
Money.
We cannot leave yet. I hope maybe she missed it. She was the first one I said, right? Sarah is getting a movie. Didn't you hear me say it?
Yep. That's right.
Marnie,
yep.
I've been working on your movie. It's like I'm trying to be Spielberg with this movie when I release it. It's going to be the first one. So always great to tune into Paxton and Sarah De Silva. I told you, man, that name is the bomb. Thank you both for your work. Dr. Marnie, we love you so much. And look at that, of the refrain.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay, if you're not a regular here and you're stopping in or you watch this later and go like, why are these people so close to each other? Because we're in the trenches together. We are.
That's it.
In the trenches together. That's right. Kicking up dust against those who are peace breakers. All right, here we go. Dr. Marnie, thank you so much. We are going to end the show on a video. And, okay, here we go. Another one. Thanks. Hey, I hope you like the movie. And by the way, if you don't, please try not to tell too many people. So, Sarah's got to go. We got to go. Sarah's got to get back to her life. She's solving problems in Australia right now. They're going to put her in the government. So here we go. Here comes your movie. And then, Sarah, I will talk to you after the fact.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
With you? All right. I'll stop talking,
See you
everybody.
then. Bye.